Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order here this evening. Thanks everybody for joining us on the Park Board meeting of November 30th, 2020. Like in our last few meetings, I'm going to kind of join together the approval of minutes and roll call at the same time. So to get started, if someone could make a motion to approve minutes.
This is Jonathan. I'll make a motion to approve.
Jonathan made a motion to approve. Anybody like to second that?
Second. Ruben's hand up.
Second on Ruben. Okay, thank you, Ruben. Minutes are approved. I'm going to go around and do roll call, and if you could just say that you are present and that you approve minutes, I would appreciate it. So first we're going to start out with Carl.
Yes, I approve the minutes, and I am here, yes.
And Jonathan.
Here, I approve.
And Linda. Linda? Probably got that mute on, Linda.
Mute me.
There we go.
Yes, I approve the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Linda. And Ruben. Got that mute on, Ruben? Ruben?
There we go.
There.
I approve.
Okay, thank you, Ruben. And April.
Approve.
Thank you, April. And Marlene. Marlene.
Present and approved.
Thank you, Marlene. And I think that's everyone. So thank you for that. Minutes are approved.
Hey, Brad, sorry for the interruption. Looks like Jeremy just arrived as well, just so you know.
Jeremy, hello, Jeremy. Jeremy, we're doing roll call and approval of minutes. Would you like to join in and say yes and hello? Maybe? Jeremy? We're having some bandwidth issues this evening. That might be an issue for Jeremy here right now.
Why is it not working?
There we go.
It's still not connected.
Doesn't matter. They won't look at us.
I can hear you, Jeremy.
All right, I'm here. I don't know what's going on. There's bandwidth problems.
Yeah, there is. Can you approve minutes? We'll go with that. Okay, we don't actually have Melissa with us tonight, do we? Jeff?
No, we do not.
Okay.
Jennifer and I, as staff.
I just wanted to see if there was any emails from the public about any comments.
I did not see any, and Melissa and I had a conversation late this afternoon, and she didn't receive any either.
Okay. And this actually is public comment time, and I'm not actually seeing anyone from the public in our meeting. Anybody see anybody outside of the board?
No.
Okay.
No.
If not, we will move on to our regular business. And primarily this evening, we only have one agenda item, and that's Jeff is going to be talking, and also maybe Jennifer too, about the 2021 work plan. And we do have a little bit of a showing here from Tim when we get a chance. So go ahead, Jeff, you're up.
Sounds good. Thank you, Tim, for sharing that. I think you can all see that now. Well, good evening, everybody. with City Council adopting the 2021 budget on November 16th, Brad and I, in setting the agenda, thought this would be a good idea to just have a first discussion over our department work plan, have a chance to answer any questions you might have, and also just hear from you and get feedback as to what you see as priorities. And that feedback will help Brad and I set the work plan agenda and work plan for the park board as we head into 2021. So hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, though it was a little bit different. I know there's a football game going on tonight, so I understand we've got some bandwidth issues. But I thought it'd be a good chance, despite all of that, to at least have a discussion here about the work plan tonight. So, as I mentioned, as council adopted the budget a couple weeks ago, what this represents, these bulleted items represent really those major items broken down by division that'll be on our work plan list for the department. These projects would represent projects that have been approved either as part of the capital budget. Some of them are also operating projects that have been approved by budget. Some as well are items that are within the city's strategic plan that we as a department are tasked with taking lead on. What you don't see on this list are really so much else of what we do in terms of ongoing programs, ongoing services that we provide either at our facilities or how we maintain our parks and field spaces for residents to enjoy. These really are those items that are going to have a major set of tasks, will likely have a community touch.
Jeff, you got frozen there for a moment.
I'll mention a couple times as I go down the list, we have 3 other boards and commissions that are involved with the department too, that some of those boards and commissions take sort of a lead role in some of that work. So starting with the top and looking at our Parks Administration and Park Planning group, real quickly going down the list, this is an item that's a continuation from last year. We initiated a wayfinding park and trail signage effort. We're doing this with the communications department as well as our economic development department. What this will produce is a plan and design for wayfinding signage that residents would find on both rights of way, on our trails, also more consistency in terms of park signage and signage within our park system. We'll be completing that in 2021. Next item, we have 2 playground projects. The first at Hillside Neighborhood Park. You may be familiar as some of the longstanding park board members in 2014. There was some community outreach that occurred in the Issaquah Mountain neighborhood, a desire and interest to have a play area added to that neighborhood park where there is none. Also, as part of the budget process, it was a high priority for council and the mayor to also include replacement of a play area at Blackberry Park. This is the small park that was transferred to the city from King County in 2017. This park is in the South Cove neighborhood. So those will be 2 capital projects we'll be focusing on. Also a continuation of our master planning effort with our 3 anchor parks, Tibbetts Valley Park, Memorial Park, and the Issaquah Creek Corridor. As well, as I mentioned, I think at our last meeting, we were ranked really high with our application to the state Washington Wildlife Recreation Program grant application for reimbursement for the Bergsma acquisition. This item will now be, that funding will be dependent upon the legislative process, the state legislative process next year. So we'll be following along in earnest as state legislature goes through their budget process next winter and spring. Also on our work plan is approved capital funding for the replacement of Central Park Pad 3 turf. This is an aging life cycle project as that turf is nearing the end of its useful life. Also on our work plan list is some work we've initiated with Public Works. Public Works has gone through a reorganization and their operations group and engineering group are merging. As part of that effort through this year, we've initiated some conversations and collaboration with them on such things as they're doing a surface stormwater master plan update. We've brought them in and updated them on the master planning work we're doing with parks. We want to continue that collaborative work. There's a lot of multiple benefits when you start looking at surface and stormwater projects, needs, priorities, acquisition goals, as well as goals that we have for parks within the Creek Corridor and a number of other projects. So that planning, analysis, and collaboration will be work that we want to continue on. The carbon credit program, this is some work that we started earlier this year before the pandemic. We're going to be submitting what we're calling a pilot application to see what we can garner from the carbon market. So as we plant trees throughout our park system, most recently we've planted just under 10,000 trees through a grant we received with King County. We would like to pilot and see if there's a market, and we hear that there is a market, that companies will be interested in capturing and basically purchasing that carbon from us. So we'll be submitting that application and looking at, is this a model? Is this something that we could replicate given the number of trees that we plant as we're doing succession planning within our urban forest? And could this possibly be a revenue source that could help us with the maintenance of ongoing maintenance of our urban forest within our public properties. Also on our
Jeff, you're having some bandwidth issues. So hold your comments. Hopefully we can hear you soon.
I know you're all familiar with that. We had a really good outreach introduction meeting. We have a number of very interested volunteer stewards. We'll be jumping into
I don't think Jeff can hear us, Jennifer.
Jeff, you're having some bandwidth issues. Can you hear it? Can you hear me?
on this list. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for letting me know that. I apologize, everybody. All right, going dark. Okay. So an item that was approved in the budget for next year, the operating budget for next year, was bringing on board a park ranger. This will be a staff position that will work within park maintenance, will serve as a really as a steward for park users, as well as a a conduit with our police department and work in a number of factors, primarily within our parks and open space and trail system, making sure that they are safe spaces for our residents. This is a program that other cities within the Puget Sound area have implemented, so we'll be leaning on what some of those other cities have learned as we bring that position on board.
Hey, Jeff, sorry to interrupt, but you were not able to hear you when you talked about the temporary dog park. Would you like to say anything more about that?
Yeah, just that. Yeah, we'll within park operations, we'll be implementing that program, and that program includes the opening of the first location, which is now open at Pickering Barn, and then transitioning that to the two other locations as we identified in the schedule that we talked with you at our last meeting. So Confluence Park Bridge is, as you may know, there is some artwork that's on the decking of the bridge. Some of that artwork has begun to, I guess, decay. So we'll be working closely with Amy Dukes and our arts coordinator to get that artwork repaired. Thankfully, the integrity of the decking is not at risk in any way, shape, or form. We also have on our operating life cycle resurfacing the tennis courts at Tibbetts Valley Park. Those are up for resurfacing.
Jeff, I think we lost you. Can you hear me?
The ongoing work as well. I'd also note within park operations, another item that was approved within the 2021 budget was bringing on board a park operations manager. As you may or may not know, for the past 12 or 15 years, the city has had one manager who oversees both facility maintenance and park operations maintenance. That's a really, really tough task. So we will be, those two groups work very closely together and still will be housed in the same shop space to be able to have really that management, that skilled management and resource management leadership, both within our parks and our facilities, will be a real added benefit for the maintenance of our park system. Scrolling down a little bit.
Jeff, we're unable to hear you.
Four major work plan items for 2021. And then within recreation, again, not trying to identify every single program we're doing, but really as we navigate COVID recovery and continue to work through modified operations at community center, at the pool, at the Pickering Barn and the senior center, and with our athletic programs, we will then also be keeping an eye on what post-COVID operations look like, and what our business practices look like as Brian Bernston leads that effort with our recreation supervisors. And then lastly, and I'll just highlight these, city facilities and facility maintenance is also housed within Parks and Community Services Department. Rick Patterson will be overseeing this work. We will be working with City Council on looking at a number of city properties and facilities that the city has owned for a long time, and doing an assessment of those of those properties. These are properties that the city does not have a direct operation of, but trying to prioritize and get a sense of what the priority of those buildings are as we look into the future. There's some work that'll be happening within the parking lot at the police station. Some HVAC work within our City Hall Police Headquarters. A new roof and HVAC system are needed at the Senior Center. They'll be doing that work. Some internal flooring with the police department. And then, as I mentioned earlier, some ongoing work with just our facilities management plan. And again, bringing on that park operations manager will really be an operational plus, not only for park operations, but for the facilities team, as well as letting management occur with both of those very, very important pieces of infrastructure, our square footage of our buildings, as well as our park acres. So that was a really quick overview. I really apologize. I don't know how much I was glitching or not glitching, but I'll pause right there and see if there's any questions before maybe we go into feedback.
Yeah, you were glitching off and on, Jeff, but fortunately we had the handout here to kind of keep us busy. I couldn't hear you, and so we got a good idea, at least generally, what's going on here this year. And we'll talk more, I'm sure, in terms of future agendas to break this down more specifically on each one of these items as we get closer to them. But this is just an overview for all of next year, right?
Yeah, these are our major work plan items. What we'll be doing as staff is within the next couple of weeks, taking each of these work.
Hmm.
We lost you there, Jeff.
Well, I'm kind of thinking that Jeff doesn't know when he can't hear it or when we can't hear him.
I know, I'm really, really sorry. Yeah, it sounds like Comcast or any of us that are on Comcast are getting bombarded with, there's a local football game that's going on right now. Go Hawks.
As Jeremy pointed out, it seems like we're probably being punished for having this meeting during a Seahawks game. Fortunately, the Seahawks are still showing even afterwards. If you have cable, NFL cable can show it in its entirety for you that want to see it.
So Brad, if I can just, I guess pose the question, and again, don't know how much discussion we can have tonight or just moving forward. Obviously, not all of these are work plan items for the park board, but would be very interested in getting feedback or hearing some thoughts or priorities park board members may have for items of focus or items of interest. Traditionally, as you know, really the park planning projects, as well as some of our park operations projects, are where the park board has spent most of their time and focus. But again, just want to get some feedback as you and I, Brad, start building the work plan for next year.
Has this document been sent out yet? I don't know that I have got a copy of it. If that can just get sent out to everybody by email, so everybody has a copy, and we can maybe get some feedback before our next meeting.
Yes, I understand from Melissa that it was sent out this afternoon.
Okay.
So you should all have that.
Okay. Anybody have any suggestions now, or do you want to digest that a little bit and get back to us? I take it that you'll get back to us. So Jeff, I don't know if you can hear me or not.
I can.
Okay. Do you have anything further on this work plan?
No, just saying we're going to continue with staff to work through the details and begin to build the timeline for each of these efforts. So yeah, just look forward to further discussion as we start building the work plan for the park board next year as well.
Jeff, do you have any idea yet at this point, anything the park board will be called upon to do any action items within this work plan for next year? Or is it a little too soon to say about that?
Maybe too soon, but I think typically our capital projects, I think, as we do neighborhood engagement for the Hillside Play Area, as well as the Blackberry Park Play Area, I think certainly having park board voice and involvement in that will be most helpful. Another area that will continue to have public engagement is with the master planning work for Tibbetts Valley Park and Memorial Park and the Creek Corridor. I think as we build the 6-year capital improvement plan and program, that's something we build straight off of the park strategic plan. Traditionally, I don't know if that's something the park board's gotten involved in, but I think having a chance to really get your input on that 6-year capital improvement plan could be very beneficial from a staff perspective. Those are some initial ideas I have.
Okay. Thanks. Ruben, you got a question? You're on mute, I think, Ruben.
Got it. The question I had is there any place we can go and see a little more detail on each of these areas? Or is it just a summary, or is there a place like in the budget that a little more information under each of the headings?
Good question, Ruben. The budget isn't built sort of as projects like this. I think what you will see is, and what I was just touching on is, we'll take this work plan and build it out into an Excel spreadsheet and begin to identify the tasks needed within each of these efforts and timeline for how we're going to get that work done. Do you have a specific question?
Well, I was interested in the Green Issaquah program and volunteer steward implementation. The reason I'm interested is the Kiwanis Club has reinstituted their environmental committee, and they would like to participate more in projects with the city where you need volunteers. But I can touch base maybe with Matt Meckler and get some information there on how to get our Kiwanis Club more involved in some of the efforts you guys are making.
Yeah, no, that would be fantastic. And I know Matt and Brian have already reached out to a couple of the Kiwanians about that very program. So absolutely.
Okay, great. Super, thank you.
Is Jennifer actually now overseeing Green Issaquah?
So we're going to be passing the baton, given what Green Issaquah really becomes as an operations task. That will be something that the park operations manager and Matt Meckler will be overseeing as it really evolves into a volunteer program in terms of assisting with maintenance and restoration of our open space areas.
As far as hands-on, but in terms of any meetings or things with the community or communication with Forterra and all of that, who's taking the lead for that?
So
Matt,
right,
go ahead,
right
Jen.
now, I was just going to say right now, I helped with the implementation or the writing of the 20-year guide, getting that through publication. We're starting with the training sessions. I'm helping Matt with that and trying to get him on board. And then once the full transition over to full volunteer program, it will solely be under Matt's guidance at that time.
Okay.
So we're in a transition zone right now.
And the thought there, Brad, and everyone else, is that this will evolve from a project to an ongoing program that supports our maintenance efforts. And so really letting it live within our park operations team, we feel will be most efficient and effective.
Good.
But Brett, to answer your question, we are planning our second green Issaquah steward training, and we will be getting that information out. Likely it's going to happen after the first of the year. So more information will be forthcoming.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions from the board for Jeff on this issue?
Yeah, remain wise.
I don't know who said that. Since I'm not seeing half the board here pictures, you might put something in chat if you have a question or want to make a comment. Not seeing anything. Okay. Anything further on this issue, Jeff?
Nope, just thank you. As in years past, we want to make this a habit of sharing first just this broad overview of our work plan for the upcoming year, and then as we build it into more specific timeline, keeping you informed of the big picture. So thanks.
Yeah, actually, that timeline document that you do is very helpful, and I assume that'll come out, what, maybe in January?
Yes, yep, we're working on, that's what we're working on right now, and hope to have done by the end of December. So yep.
Good, good. Well, let's wrap up the work plan here for now, and I think the next items is basically reports. Jeff, do you want a breather, or do you want to go ahead if you have a report?
Why don't you go first, Brad? I've got a couple items, but
Okay.
we'll have a chance to introduce Ryan as well.
Okay. I only had a couple things. One is Jeff and I attended a virtual meeting on November 12th with the Issaquah Task Force and the mayor. It was primarily just kind of an introduction with all the boards and commissions. But one thing that was mentioned on there from the city administrator was looking for some feedback from the boards and commissions to get back to him by the first or second week of January. So if anybody actually has any recommendations that might relate to parks and recreation that you'd like to have those recommendations passed on to the task force, if you could just pass those on to me at some point before the end of December, I'd appreciate it. I think for the most part, it's going to be the work plan that'll probably be the majority of any feedback that we give the task force so that they can at least see what kind of plans are intended by Parks and Rec for next year. But if there's any other oddball things that you might want to include or have recommended, please let me know by the end of December. Jeff didn't attend this, but I did. On November 18th, I attended the Carnivores meeting, Coexisting with Carnivores meeting. They're wrapping up the second year now, and this was just kind of an annual overview. It was pretty informational. Basically, an awful lot of good images have now been obtained and were shared in that meeting. And are shared periodically through some communications by the city. Just to give you a little bit of a background, this program has actually been in the school system since 2011 with the 6th grade, and it has been running with some of the elementary school within Issaquah here this past year as well. This is part of a larger program where the images are shared with the Seattle Urban Carnivore Project and are also uploaded into a national web base called eMammal. So this is really pretty much a national program that isolates down to us here in Issaquah. There's also something that one of the teams put together called Adventure Labs. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that or not. It's a geocache program where people can get familiar with various parts of town or Issaquah, primarily in Old Town area. And as people go to various places in town, they also get some education on their mobile phones about carnivores. There's also the Carnivore Spotter Project, which is essentially anybody within Puget Sound can actually go in if they have images and can actually post them. Probably the last thing I wanted to make mention of, one of the teams has put together yard signs that you'll now be seeing popping up throughout the city. Basically, it's kind of an educational signs about how to coexist with carnivores. It's going to run for about 6 months, so you'll see them probably in yards throughout the city. They are asking for volunteers to help steward this program. So if you are interested, please get in touch with me, and then I'll come forward you on to Woodland Park Zoo or the contact there for that. It's been a pretty effective program, and Matt Meckler has actually been the main contact person with the city and Woodland Park Zoo. And the last thing I have is really just to let everybody know that we're not going to be having a meeting in December. So our next meeting will be in January, and we'll put out some additional information about that sometime mid-January. And that's all I have. So Jeff, would you like to step in with a couple things?
You bet, Brad. Thank you. First, we have a youth advisory board rep. I'd love to introduce Ryan. Welcome to the park board meeting, probably our glitchiest park board meeting yet. I think I'm freezing up again. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Ryan Remy, do you want to introduce yourself? Let us know what school you attend.
Sure, yeah. So first of all, I'm really sorry if you can't see me. This is only my second time using WebEx, and it wouldn't let me connect to my camera, and I can't see any of you. But anyways, so I'm Ryan Remy. I'm a junior at Liberty High School. So I don't necessarily live in Issaquah. I live out in the Renton Highlands, Newcastle area, but Issaquah is definitely a place I consider my second home. Throughout elementary school, I played soccer and basketball through the rep programs. Back when there was carpeting in the community center. I learned how to ride a bike out at Tibbetts Valley Park. And then in middle school, I started on the youth advisory board in 6th grade. So this is my 6th year on the board. And the youth rep opportunities was actually one of the things that really brought me into applying to the board and being on it. But when I got on it in middle school, I was like nervous about being on the parks board or another board. A lot of the youth reps when I was in middle school were upperclassmen in high school. And then I just gotten busy in the first few years of high school myself. But I thought this was sort of the perfect time to join on the youth advisory board in middle school. I served as a co-chair for the middle school action committee. In this year and last year, I've been serving as the community service chair. So in addition to our community service activities we do on the board, I'm also in charge of overseeing our youth rep program, which is another reason of many why I decided to finally join the park board. Kathy Jones had kept telling me that you guys had wanted a youth rep and no one else was stepping up. And so I thought that it was finally the time to join. And my most recent sort of affiliation with Issaquah Parks and Rec would be working as a camp counselor this past summer. So I was out at Tibbetts Creek Manor with Kinder Camp, working as a counselor, taking my kids to Tibbetts Valley Park to play on the playground and in the fields throughout the summer. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I hope I can provide a good youth perspective. Yeah.
No, thanks for that, Ryan. Welcome. We'll make sure that you're added to the park board roster and distribution list. Absolutely, I think your voice and perspective will be very, very helpful to the board and to certainly us as staff as we tackle our work plan. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I agree, Ryan. Nice to meet you, even under such odd circumstances. But look forward to seeing you next time. And I really greatly appreciate your stepping forward and being a part of the board. And it's great to get a perspective from the youth, as well as for you to pass on information that we share back to the youth board too. So it's a good two-way street. So welcome and thanks so much for being here with us tonight.
Hear, hear. A couple other items I wanted to update. One, Brad, thanks for mentioning the COVID Recovery Task Force, the Mayor's Recovery Task Force. I just wanted to reiterate that really the focus of that group was trying to get feedback on and thinking of COVID recovery. And as we head into 2021, what priorities we might have as a park board for COVID recovery priorities. So thanks for highlighting that, Brad. And, any feedback or thoughts that any of you have, please get those to Brad. Yeah, I think it's middle of January, Brad, that we'll try and lend some voice there. I know, Marlene, you've been an alternate on the Recovery Task Force as well. So thank you for lending a park's voice throughout that process. I know I've had the chance to attend a couple of meetings, and it's a really, really good working group. And then the last item I had was just a really quick update on the dog park. As I mentioned earlier, our first site of the dog park tour opened up earlier in November at Pickering Barn. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback. Quite a few emails have been sent our way. I think, Jennifer, we were going to compile those, and we can add those to the minutes if you don't mind. So you as park board members will have a chance to see those and see that feedback. And just know as we go through next year, we'll figure out a cadence to keep you updated on how that pilot program is working. So, and with that, again, I apologize for the glitchy nature of the meeting. But if I don't have a chance to see you, I hope you all have a terrific December. Stay safe, stay well. Let's get through this. Let's get through this pandemic, and let's meet face to face again in 2021. I would really like that.
Thanks for that, Jeff. Anybody else have any new business or announcements to make? I'm not seeing anything or any hands raised, so we're zeroing in. Kind of thinking maybe Comcast was one of the issues tonight, and because I'm on CenturyLink and haven't had much of an issue, so that could be the issue. Anyways, hope everyone had a nice Thanksgiving, and have yourself a great Christmas and good December, and stay safe. And that's it for now. Thanks, everybody. Meeting is adjourned.